You're listening to TJ's One of Us for the Always Next Year Podcast Studio Network. You can find the team on our Twitter at ANY Podcast. You can also find us on our website, www.alwaysnextyearpodcast.com. And now, to bring us in, the Jackdaws.
A fighting man I used to be, revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and such over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son, still have me life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.
All right, this is Scott here for another TJ is One of Us podcast. I have Shane on the other line. Shane, how's it going right now?
It's going, man. I'm covering the last 8 minutes of a Flyers game that is just tied 2-2. The second you started speaking, took everything in me to not just flip out in anger. We were up 2-1, by the way. So whenever you're hearing this podcast in the future, doo-doo-doo, that's what happens. But I'm fine. I'm just angry.
Well, something to lessen. Well, this doesn't really lessen anyone's anger. I mean, the Sixers did just win. We beat the worst team in the league, the Charlotte Hornets. Yay us.
Yeah, very convincingly-ish.
I think we won the way that we wanted to win. I mean, we were like, if we wanted to go out there and stomp them by 30, we could have. We were being nice. Like, the way the game ended, they just pulled everyone and let the bench take over the end of the game. I mean, anyone who was gambling on it was probably having a small heart attack that Brett Brown did that. But, shouldn't be gambling on games that are 13-point spreads anyway. Shame on you if you were doing it.
You absolutely should not. And you shouldn't be gambling on the Sixers ever.
I agree. It's not good for your heart, not good for your health.
Yeah, 100%. Unless you're not a fan of the 76ers, in which case, I don't know why you're listening to this pod, but we appreciate it.
Yeah, so, I mean, keep listening. We're confused why you're here, but we'll take it. So with that in mind, we did just have the Sixers beat the Charlotte Hornets. Let's go through that game a little bit. I mean, there wasn't anything too crazy that happened in it. The one funny thing that the Sixers just fed right into my conversation with Connor. We were recording a Crossing Borders. If any of you are interested in, just rousing sports topics as well as us Americans beating up on the Canadians a little bit, Connor and I had recorded a Crossing Borders segment tonight, and our topic on that was Furkan Korkmaz and, his rise. And we're going to talk a little bit about that here today. But as I was talking to Connor about that, Korkmaz had drained 2 threes in a row, and I was smiling ear to ear at the fact that Furkan just kind of knew that I needed him to come through real big right there because I was pushing for him, and I've swallowed a lot of words on him over the course of the year. So he's definitely stepped up, and he did that again tonight. I mean, it was one of the bright spots of the game.
Furkan, I feel like every year there's a guy that I 100% loathe being out on the floor, and I begrudgingly cheer for them when good things happen. Furkan Korkmaz, in 9 games of the season now, he's very quickly made me a fan, and I think it has a lot to do with those ridiculous shoes. If you wear shoes like that, which are horrible, if you wear shoes like that and you put in, and you suddenly learn how to play basketball overnight, because the guy was garbage for 2 years, I'm all on board now. I'm in. I'm fully in on the Turk.
Yeah, me too. Those shoes are terrible. I mean, someone's got to get him just a pair of black shoes or white shoes or something basic. Like, who decided to tell him that he could wear yellow ones? On top of that, too, it scared me a little bit. Toby was wearing yellow shoes the other day, too. So I don't as much as the Sixers they're playing okay basketball right now, I can't have us be a laughingstock of the league from a fashion perspective.
Yeah, it's not a good look, man. Coming from last year where we were arguably the swaggiest team, I said it, swaggiest team in the NBA. You could tell we're really Caucasian on this podcast. It's a tough look seeing shoe articles that go out like that. It's not normal. Not only that, but it's 2019. The entire starting lineup has no tattoos. It's just weird.
It's very strange. I don't get it. But as long as they keep winning basketball games, I'll find a way to think that yellow shoes are cool or think that not having tattoos are cool. Let's run through some stats here. We got Joel Embiid had an okay game. He had 18 points. 9 boards, so he didn't have quite a double-double yet. Again, only had to play 26 minutes because, as we said, this one wasn't really competitive. I mean, Sixers won 114-106, but that doesn't really tell the full story of the game, as I had mentioned. We had Tobias Harris had 14 points. He had 7 boards, 29 minutes. Okay game from him. Al Horford had just a very Al Horford game as well. 7 points, 15 boards. Argued a foul call at the end of the game, and
Hilarious.
one of my favorite things that Al Horford does is he talks to the refs like a dad would talk to a 4-year-old kid. It's like,
Thank you.
Shame on you.
It's like,
Shame
you know
on
what you
you.
did.
Exactly. I'm pretty sure he said the words, "You know what you did," in his argument tonight.
I'm
And
sure, man.
no ref speaks back to him either. They get it. He's the dad out there on the court, and they sit there and take their licks.
Yeah, I am. He's another one. So I felt like this year it wasn't going to be like, I didn't think that Furkan was going to freaking play. Like, we didn't want him. He didn't want us. He found out that no one else in the entire globe wanted to give him a job playing basketball and said, fuck it, I guess I'll go back to Philadelphia. And then all of a sudden has turned himself. This is like the start of, and this won't mean anything to you, Scott, but for all of the rest of the listeners who have watched the Flyers over the last several years, this is like the start Brandon Manning had 3 years ago, where all of a sudden it looked like he learned how to fucking play hockey and nothing made sense. Nothing makes sense that Furkan's doing right now. I thought that my displeasure for him was not even going to need to be addressed because he was never going to see the floor. So I assumed this process was going to be all for Al Horford. And now I'm sitting here paying attention to exactly what Al Horford has done for years against the Sixers, and the way that he talked to the refs, the way that he commands the respect on the court in such an old school fashion. Like, honestly, he's basically Troy Maxson in August Wilson's Fences. Like, he's just that dad that's just like, look at me and call me sir. And I'm like, I'm all here for it, man.
Yeah, with that said, if I ever meet Al Horford, I will definitely call him Mr. Horford. I will not call him Al. He has garnered that respect from me.
He absolutely has. I swear to fuck, are we about to have a penalty shot right now?
Are they going to lose this hockey game?
Yeah, they are. They were up 2-0 as they were in the last several games. And this game, if we're lucky, will go to overtime. But we are now currently about to see a Boston penalty shot, and that just and of course it's Pasternak. Who else would it be? It's fucking Pasternak. This is going to be 3-2. Continue. Talk Sixers. I gotta feel good.
So let's actually talk about the next person I was getting stat sheet here was Josh Richardson. Played 32 minutes again because he always plays 30 plus minutes and always plays hard time. 11 points. He had 3 threes tonight, which
he saved it. Keep going.
Big. So Josh Richardson having 3 threes tonight, I think, is big on a couple different levels. Number one, he has not been shooting the ball well. One of the things when we brought him here to Philadelphia that I was most excited about was his 3-point shooting. You know, I figured that he wasn't going to have as much pressure on him. He was going to be able to get off the ball a bit more. He has not been doing that. I think before today he was shooting like 20% from 3 or something, just piss poor like that. So it's good to see him start shooting the ball. I think he needed a feel-good game, as with most of the Sixers, because they've taken a couple 3 rough losses in a row, and they're not the last couple games. I mean, and we'll touch a bit more on this Charlotte Hornets game tonight, but not too much more because, like I said, not much needs to be said about it. The Sixers they've been playing hard games. They haven't been playing great, and they've been losing, which is something that we have seen in Sixers past, and I thought we were over it. I'm most butthurt about that. I think the fact that we're just repeating bad behaviors. I think we had talked a bit, Shane, before about how, you know, we usually don't win games that are close as Sixers. It's just not something that's happened during Brett Brown's tenure. However, that was starting to happen at the beginning of the year. And it was a bit troubling to me to see. So I'm going to pull up some of the last couple scores here. But, I mean, they've just been losing tight games to the Jazz, to the Nuggets, which is an inexcusable loss, which we probably need to speak in detail about. We did steal a game from Portland, and then we lost to the Suns. And I thought the Suns game was the only one I was okay losing. The other 2 games, I feel like we have to win. Just we cannot lose those games.
Yeah, it was weird. So the way that we started the season, the first 5 games, right? Everyone, you know, we're atop the power rankings in the NBA. Everyone's feeling good. We're all talking shit because we're Philadelphia. But I did cautiously sit here, and I feel like how many times did we text each other and say, we never win this game after we win one of those first 5 games. And I think that it was silly of us to think that this was something that was going to be sustainable for 82 games. And I think that this is something that I've now kind of shifted and said, all right, this isn't the old 76ers. This is the new 76ers. They are going to have to find a way to grind out wins. And I just don't think that in today's NBA, this is sustainable. Like you can't win in today's NBA having your best shooter be Furkan Korkmaz. As much as we are digging what he's doing right now, like this is a flawed roster and this is a flawed game plan. And I think what we're learning right now, and it's the time to be learning this in the first quarter of the NBA season, is what we thought we could win with isn't good enough. And I think that we were starting to see those adjustments from Brett Brown, whether we like them or not. We're starting to see Raul Neto. We're starting to see Trey Burke. Obviously the extended minutes for our bomber in the Turk. We're starting to see things we didn't think we were going to see because they have to figure this out. So I'm discouraged on one hand that we were all wrong, that we all walked into this season saying, I don't think there is a hole outside of we thought we were going to be bad shooting. I don't think we thought we were going to be this bad. But yeah, for 5 games of the season, we all sat here and we were winning games that we never win. And I think that we are a different team that has different problems that are just kind of masking themselves in the things that we kind of grew to understand were going to happen from 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I think masking problems is a great way to put it. Despite how good the defense has looked, if you can't shoot the basketball, you're not going to win a game. And that was seen in the Jazz game. I mean, they shot terribly in that game. To go back, I'm going to have to pull up some stats here on it. But, I mean, Embiid played great. He had 27 points. I mean, our free throw shooting has been top-notch, which has been a savior, honestly, unto itself. But we can't rely on things like that. We need to learn how to shoot the ball. We need to be able to pick the rest of the team up when Ben Simmons is out for a couple of games, because him being out has been a huge problem. And I'm not saying that you can replace, a potential MVP candidate in Ben Simmons by just anyone off the bench, but, we need to be able to get Raul Neto to have a real just kind of foundation in the game and be an important part of the team. We need Furkan Korkmaz to keep shooting the three the way he is. We need Tobias Harris to shoot way better than he is right now. I mean,
we need him to shoot the basketball. Yeah. He had 1 3-point attempt tonight. That's inexcusable.
I don't get what he's doing. Yeah,
we're not paying this guy a near max to not shoot the basketball. The man was shooting over 40-something% in LA last year, has never found that stroke here in Philadelphia, and that is concerning. We extended him the offer that we did on the understanding that if we're going to have a flawed system and a lack of shooting, we at least have Tobias Harris, who was proven behind the arc. Granted, last year, I think we can all kind of say is the anomaly right now, which is unfortunate to say, but he's got to shoot the basketball. He's got to shoot 8+ threes a night.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't hate seeing him shoot 8 threes a night. He's playing good in other aspects of the game. So again, to your point, he's masking his problem. He's just not shooting. He's not comfortable with it. And I don't like the fact that he's not comfortable shooting the ball. He needs to get over that. And that's something that definitely needs to change. I mean, that's probably been one of the most noticeable issues to me anyway, watching this team through 9 games. For example, like I'm looking just through the Jazz stats. He had 35 minutes and he only shot 1 3 in that game and he missed it. I mean, he had 16 points and he looked okay aside from that, but you can't win a game against a team as tough as the Jazz when Tobias Harris is not shooting like that. It just will not happen.
Yeah, he is. I would say that he is arguably the one who looks the least comfortable on the floor at any given time for the 76ers. And, I can't remember the game that it was. I feel like it was, I don't know. I want to say game 3 or 4. It was a win, but Toby got the ball. He had been shooting, I think he was 0 for 4, 0 for 5 from 3 at that point. He got a ball that was arguably, it was his most wide open 3-point attempt. And he kind of stuttered and he was like, I think I'm going to drive. So he took that one jab step in with a dribble and then kind of faded back away and said, shit, I got to take the 3 anyway. And he hit it, but it was like by accident. And you could tell he didn't want to shoot that ball. He does not look comfortable in this offense. He doesn't look like he is what we need or what we expected him to be. And at a certain point, look, we're 9 games in. He didn't play much with us last year in the regular season. And by the time the postseason was here, he was option 4 on a stacked team. Like, I understand this is an adjustment and it's going to take more than 9 games. But at what point do you start really being concerned with Tobias Harris and the way that he's fit?
What I think he needs to do is I think he needs to go to the tanning bed with Brett Brown, and they need to have a boys' day, because we need to touch base on that for a second. Brett Brown is looking tan as hell, and it doesn't make any sense.
Leather.
Yeah, I don't know what's changed in Philadelphia since I left, but it's not 95 and sunny there, right? He's not tanning outside.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, unless he's on the roof of the Wells Fargo Center with some like reflective padding that he's laying underneath of with heat pads near him to radiate the heat just so he can pretend that it's like sunny Australia somewhere. But yeah, he looks like he's trying to acquire the attention of a younger female. And I got to say, he's probably going to get it.
I think so. I mean, the Botox is working for him. The tan's working for him.
He clearly worked out.
Fuck, he might step on the court next game and just decide to drop 10. Like, I wouldn't be shocked.
He'd probably be our best shooter right now.
He probably would.
He honestly probably would. Have you ever taken a look, by the way, back? And this is an issue. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me, but Brett Brown's a handsome man. I was like, man, I wonder what this guy looked like back in the 80s. You know, like, let's just see what he looked like. He was one ugly, weird-looking guy, man. I don't know how this came out of it. Like, some guys just got that Clooney, and he's got it. So good for Brett.
Yeah. That's definitely been a bright spot. If I had to talk about 5 bright spots this early year, it's Brett Brown's looks. He could hold a press conference. He speaks confidently. He struts around on the sidelines and is fiery as all hell. Like, I like what he's doing. I like the confidence he's inspiring in younger players like Furkan Korkmaz. I mean, Neto, he's starting to inspire a bit. I mean, he's always had a great relationship with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. Like, I really like what he's doing, but, I mean, he needs to spend some time with Tobias Harris, and we need to instill confidence in him. Whatever we have to do to get our man shooting, we have to do it. I mean, I'm willing to lose a game or two just to give him the ball more and show him that we have some confidence in him.
So I had 2 theories. Like, number one was on when we're on an away game stretch again. Like, we've established the regular season doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot in the NBA. You could afford, just like you said, to bag a couple games. Say we're on a 2-game trip in the middle of fuck nowhere. No one gives a hell, right? Let him beat Donovan Mitchell. Just say, hey, man, shoot until your arms and legs are dead. 48 shots, no less. 48 shooting attempts for you. Everything outside the arc. Just feel it out, man. And then we'll give you 2 days off. Like, let him get into a rhythm. Let him feel some things out. It's incredibly important. And then the second thing is, I mean, he's got to be emotionally distressed being this far away for this extended amount of time from Bobby. I mean, that duo, you don't break up. You know, Reese's cups, they're perfect. You don't do it. I'm sorry. You need chocolate. You need peanut butter. I'll let you decide which one's which because Toby's a little light skinned. So,
yeah, I mean, that brings up an interesting question. If we get the option to bring Bobby back at some point, do we do it just in the hopes that it'll get Tobias Harris playing better? Because he was playing markedly better last year than he is right now, and I'm worried. Like, give this guy a gigantic contract. Like,
so all kidding aside, I mean, I don't remember if you had said it or if I had said it. That's how often we talk now, that thoughts are blending together. But one of us early on before the season had stated that we thought that this was going to be the breakout year for Tobias Harris. And he was essentially going to be the 76ers MVP. And, you know, it was kind of because he needed to. Like, he is literally the only shooter on the team. You know, if someone's going to play 30-plus minutes a night and shoot efficiently, who are you betting on? It was going to be Tobias Harris. It's not working out. I feel like it's easy for defenses to plan for that now. He's not exactly getting the cleanest of looks all the time. I understand that's different. But I would say that probably the key thing for Toby too, and I'm not long-term concerned with him yet. I know it's 9 games in. I jokingly said that moments ago. You know, at what point are you concerned? Long-term, I'm not. But right now, it's going to be rough. He needs to be on the floor with another guy who spaces the floor. He can't be the only guy who is shooting. It just doesn't work. You know, and that can't be Furkan because no one fucking fears that man. You know, it's not going to be Ben overnight. But at this point, you've got to find someone else out there to package him with that teams have to respect consistently. And right now, you know, they can do whatever they want to Toby and lock him down.
Yeah, they definitely can. Which brings us to I've been dreading talking about this all week, but let's talk about the Denver Nuggets game and the nightmare that was that loss. We blew a 21-point lead in the fourth quarter. Jokic, who is looking fatter than ever right now. I mean, I'm never one to fat shame, and I'm not one to ever bring up something negative against my Denver Nuggets, who I think are going to win the West. But my God, that guy needs to go on a diet. He was huffing and puffing all night. Like, just like someone needs to talk to Tobias Harris. Someone needs to get that man on a diet regimen. He looks terrible.
Dude, going back from their media day in the preseason where he was sitting there all slouched over, I was like, that's got to be the camera angle, right? He can't possibly be that fat. He is. He is a large man. Like, he just, there's no way that guy lasts 82 games without dying. Like, it's just, it can't happen.
Seriously. With that in mind, though, I mean, that large man just beat us at the end of the game. He just wanted it more. I mean, that shot he hit, it was lucky, but he hit it. And those are the kind of things that we need the Sixers to be doing going forward. I don't have the confidence that the Nuggets do in Jokic that I would expect anyone on the Sixers to be hitting that kind of crazy shot at the end of the game.
No, absolutely not. I mean, it's a Furkan. That man can bomb.
He can end the game. Damn right.
Yeah, right. So this was the game that neither one of us watched, right? Did you watch this one live?
What
can't
day
recall.
did we play the Nuggets? I think I did get to watch some of this one. It was on Friday night. Yeah.
I can't. Right. I was at a comedy show. That's right.
That's it. Yeah.
So I was at a comedy show and didn't get the opportunity to watch the game. And so when I checked last I saw, we were up, and I was like, all right, this is good. Like, I assumed this was going to be a game that was going to be tight like the rest of them were, and that if we lost, we lost. But I think at the time when I looked, we were up like 16 points. I was like, all right, I feel good about this. I can turn this off and listen to Tom Segura. Like, I can be involved in this moment. He was awesome. So shout out to my buddy Ian who set that night up. That was a good time. But yeah, so I didn't get to watch anything but the highlights and then read a bunch of the articles and scroll through Sixers Twitter, which, by the way, you guys are great. Like, the world ended on Friday night and somehow we're all still here. Like, that was a dark place. You guys rivaled that of the Philadelphia Flyers Twitter. That was fucking impressive. But it was, man, by all accounts, what a fucking collapse.
I mean, we got outscored 35-13 in the fourth quarter. I mean, there were points where I think the Sixers forgot how to play basketball, and I don't really know any other way to put it. Like, Joel Embiid, he had 8 turnovers in the night, and I think 4 of them might have been at the end of the game. Granted, there were some rough calls from the refs, and I get that there was a lot of Sixers Twitter going off about there was a terrible call on Joel Embiid at the end of the game. I agree with that. It was a bad call. We can't put ourselves in that spot. I mean, even if 2 of the turnovers were ref generated, Joel Embiid can't have 6 turnovers in that game, and we expect to win. On top of that, too, he was minus 10. Al Horford was minus 11. Neto was minus 11. Like, that's just not a quality night. I mean, looking at it now, had I not watched it live, like, statistically, I would be like, oh, wow, I can't believe the Sixers even kept this one close. But, I mean, they fell apart. It was an embarrassing loss. Ruined my Friday night. I didn't even go out. I just stayed home and had like a bourbon and just was sulky all night. It was terrible.
First of all, bourbon's fantastic. So that was a really quality life choice that you had right there. I don't even drink, and bourbon is like, if I'm going to indulge, it's that. So good for you. I actually have to ask, what'd you drink?
It's called Four Roses Bourbon.
Four Roses? Yeah, that's the way to go.
It was a classy bourbon. You know, I don't drink nearly as much as I used to, but every once in a while when I'm feeling a little down or I'm having a good day, I'll dip into some bourbon there. I'd also gotten 4 cavities filled that day, so I was already probably a little salty, but I'm going to blame it entirely on the Sixers and not the fact that I don't take care of my teeth nearly as well as I should. But
yeah, dude, man, like, my heart sunk for you when you sent me that text, because I don't play with the dentist. I am quite the little bitch. It is not a fun experience. I am totally not a 30-some-year-old man sitting in that chair. I am right back into infancy. It's not great. So good for you for at least stomaching the chair, and way to take care of your teeth to the point that you only had 4 cavities. There you go.
Yeah,
There's a
I
lot of
mean,
teeth in there. There's a lot of
exactly. Right.
opportunity for cavities.
Let's look at the positive here. Yeah, the Sixers lost a terrible lead. Yeah, I got 4 cavities filled, but the rest of my mouth is looking good and feeling good right now. So
There you
maybe when
go.
I'm, 50 years old like Brett Brown, I'll look nearly as good as he does. We'll see.
Dude, I hope one of us ages like that. Like, if let's be serious, if one of us does, it's gonna be you. Like, you're already like
I
thin
mean,
and
I
like
wouldn't hate being a
attractive.
silver fox.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think that you got that going for you. Like me, on the other hand, like, whew, shit's not looking good. 30 for me is not what I thought.
No, 30's a new 20, dude. Jay-Z said that. But
Jay-Z said that 10 years ago.
yeah, I know. But so back to this just terrible loss. I keep
Yeah.
skipping through the stats here. Millsap was plus 23 on the night. I don't even remember him looking that good. The Nuggets just statistically crushed the Sixers, and I'm having a hard time swallowing all this. But one of the biggest things I keep coming back to is turnovers.
This has been a bad recurring theme for Brett Brown teams for his entire tenure here. This year is no different, and it's fucking alarming.
Yeah, it really is. We need to take care of the ball better. I mean, I can't say it any more than that. There's nothing really more that needs to be said on it. It's just take care of the ball better. I don't know how many suicides they need to run in practice. I don't know how many stupid drills they need to do. Don't give up the basketball. End of story.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, taking a look at this, we are second in the league right now as a team in turnovers. Like, it is not good. 18 and a half a game that we're averaging. I mean, going into tonight, I should say, when I took these notes down, it was pregame. But that was the thing that I wanted to talk about as well. And a lot of these turnovers, you could make that case and make the argument that there is no true rhythm to the style that they're going to play. Like, if they're going to play bully ball, essentially, which is what they're doing, they're playing like 1980s, 1990s kind of basketball. And that kind of physical, grinded out, gritty type of just lockdown D, and hope to God that you can transition some buckets. But in today's NBA, that whistle blows every 2.5 seconds. Like a 48-minute basketball game is 2+ hours now. It's crazy. There's no opportunity for rhythm. And I think that when you set these guys up in the half court and there's no one to space, I just don't think anyone knows where anyone else is going. Like, at a certain point, they've got to figure out one guy to run the offense through, and it probably should be not Joel Embiid. It should probably be Al Horford. They should figure out that one guy and make it work. So I had read an article about the way that the Celtics kind of operated over Al Horford's tenure. And the one thing that they were concerned with most this offseason was not the fact that they were losing Kyrie Irving, which you would assume if you're going to lose one guy or both guys, like, which guy you're going to feel more. Of course, it's a superstar in Kyrie Irving. No, they said the thing that they were most concerned about is the fact that it was going to be Al Horford, the guy who the entire offense was centered around, and that game plan was centered around. They lost that. Who is their offensive identity now? Like, that was the big question they needed to figure out. Well, the Sixers are in that moment right now. And I feel like if you're going to have 4 years of a 30-some-year-old Al Horford, 31, 32, whatever he is, look, use these first 2 years of the contract and run this shit through him. He's an excellent passer. He's a very good shooter. I think you made the joke that he was going to lead the team in threes this year, and he very well fucking might at this point.
Yeah.
Outside of Furkan, maybe. I think that for me right now is the way to go. Like, you've got to figure out an offensive identity and something where the other 4 guys in the court know where other players are going to be. Tonight, I mean, watching this game, they threw, 8 passes into the seats. And I'm like, how the fuck is that possible? With as big and as long as we are, you couldn't find a hand anywhere? You tossed it into the fucking crowd. It's impossible. Nobody knows where the hell the ball's going.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're just not fully comfortable with each other yet. And it's definitely showing by the turnovers. But I think running the offense through Al Horford is an interesting thing because he is definitely not afraid. I mean, you can't really say anything bad about Al Horford right now. I'm trying to think of something. I was going to give that typical statement. It's like, you can say a lot of bad things about him. You can't say he's not afraid. No, you really can't say anything bad about the guy. He's had a great or just a solid start to the year. He gives us exactly what we expected from him. But he's not afraid the way that Tobias Harris is or the way that Ben Simmons tends to be. I mean, Joel Embiid has moved out of that. He's never really afraid anymore either. I kind of wish he was a bit more afraid, to be perfectly honest. I think his lack of fear is what causes him to turn the ball over 5 times a game. The rest of the team, I mean, yeah, they just seem tentative and hesitant, and Al Horford doesn't. So maybe they can take a page out of his book and just, he can lead by example there. We can get him more involved. I mean, it's definitely an interesting thing. I haven't thought about this yet either.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that, and you kind of hit it on the head. He's the guy who right now on the court probably does look most comfortable and someone that you can place the most trust in at this point. And I mean, no joke. I mean, the guy's been in the league forever. He's one of the more respected bigs and more versatile bigs in all the NBA. And he pretty much has been since he entered in. Like, you got to think, like, Joel Embiid, not that many games played. What a fucking shot. Was that Joel Farabee? Yeah, it was. Bitchin'. 1 up on the shootout. Going to keep that rolling.
Huge.
But, yeah. And, and then you look at Ben Simmons, who's obviously playing with an incomplete game right now. He's not fully confident in himself right now. And Tobias Harris, we're seeing it behind the arc. The thing that we need him to do most is the thing he's least comfortable doing. There's so much youth, whether it's youth to the Sixers or actual real youth, where you're like, no, I understand why you're so tentative and hesitant. Al Horford is like that, just block of stability. And I'm like, perfect, man. I trust the guy. And that's why you should run something through him right now. Allow the other guys to feel this process out within the system and roles that Al Horford basically gives to them. Like Brett and Al need to go share an Eggs Benedict from some classy ass, like go to LaCroix in the city, Rittenhouse Square, sit down, have a meal, talk this shit over. This is what I want Raul doing in all these different scenarios.
Yeah, I agree. So with this in mind, we were talking about changing the offense a bit. I'm going through just the next, 4 or 5 games here. I have the schedule up. So we have a tremendous opportunity to play around with the offense because we have a cake schedule coming up here. We kind of went through the gauntlet a bit out west, which it's weird saying that because one of the games we had to play was the Phoenix Suns, who should have been a gimme, but they decided to start playing basketball. Ricky Rubio shoots now. I mean, I don't know what's going on with them, but they're great.
Unbelievable.
They're an awesome league pass team. Yeah,
they're fun.
They're really fun. But with that in mind, so we have the Cavs coming up on Tuesday. I mean, easy win. The Cavs stink. Like they're so bad that like no one's even talking about how bad they are. So that's got to be a win. Let's try something new out there. Then we got Orlando, where we get to see Markelle Fultz. We'll probably just be, they're another frustrating team. Sometimes they decide to be good. Sometimes they decide to be bad. I mean, we'll see what we get there. But again, it should be another win. Then we have the Thunder, who are kind of an exciting team, and I like that they're exciting. However, Steven Adams will get the matchup with Joel Embiid. That'll be something interesting to look at, and I'll enjoy watching it. But again, it should be another win. And then we get the Cavs again there. And then we get the Knicks. So, I mean, that's 5 games in a row right there that we have to win. And we can play around with things and let Ben Simmons get healthy. Maybe have Tobias Harris have his game where he shoots 47 times in a game. Maybe Al Horford starts playing point guard. I don't know. We got to do something, change it up. Like, this is our chance to play around with things.
Yeah, I think that you have to, and we're gifted a 5-game stretch like this early in the season. And when we saw, do you think, so I meant to ask you this like via text, but I'll ask you on here anyway. Do you think starting the season off 5-0, playing the style of basketball that they went in aiming to play was ultimately a bad thing? Like, do you think that it would have been better had they went 3-2 or 2-3?
I really do. I was thinking about this today, actually. I think going 5-0 and us getting cocky was the worst thing that happened to us. So I've actually changed a little bit on this. I thought after we win that game in Portland, right, we steal one. We had no business winning that basketball game. Portland is a bit of a dumpster fire right now. I don't know what's going on with them. They can't afford to lose those games, but we won that without Joel Embiid. It was awesome.
Which is incredible.
Yeah, and that at that point I was like, all right, the Sixers are actually great. But when are we going to lose is like, you know what, we might lose this Phoenix game. Joel Embiid's not playing. I'm okay losing this one. You know, maybe it'll make them go back to the drawing board and they'll change a little bit. Nope, they lost that and took 0 notes, and we're just like, all right, we're fine. Just lost a game. Then they lost to Utah, changed absolutely nothing. Lost to Denver, changed absolutely nothing. And then tonight, it's hard to even tell if they changed anything because the Hornets stink so bad. So I don't know. I think them starting out as hot as they did confirmed some theories that, you know, their system works, but it also just allowed them to go back to your point before, to mask some of the problems that we're having, and they haven't taken an honest look in the mirror and seen, you know, what they need to do to win in the playoffs yet, and they're just not where they need to be as a team. Definitely not.
And that's exactly why I think that this 5-game stretch that you've brought up is so important and so critical for an evaluation period for this team. You know, it's from a coaching standpoint all the way on down. You know, I will say, even before Ben Simmons went out with the shoulder injury, I'm incredibly disappointed with him this season. And it's not to say that he's having some massively poor season, but this is 2 off seasons in a row that he has known 100% what his immediate goal needs to be. He needs to shoot. He has to shoot, and he has to be assertive going to the rim and not fear the free throw line. And man, he is. It's like we're watching the guy who's afraid to evolve, and his talent and his physical specimen and his overall athleticism he's always going to be a very good player in this league, and he's a very good player right now. But for this team to take another step, I'm not saying it's as critical as a Tobias Harris not fearing the 3-point line anymore, but it's up there. You know, when he comes back over these 5 games, and I hope that he does. I haven't heard any reports yet. But I hope that this is the 5-game stretch for him where Brett says, listen, man, shoot the fucking basketball. Jimmy's not here. It's your fucking team. Shoot the goddamn basketball. Go to the rim, be assertive, be physical. You're faster. You're stronger than almost any player that you're going to go up against. There are a few players that are going to physically and athletically rival him on a basketball court. He's got to use that to his advantage. Early on in the season, first 2 games, he was getting guys in foul trouble early. He was getting Celtics in foul trouble early. And that was incredibly important and critical to winning basketball games the way they want to play. He's got to come in these 5 games, and he's got to at least tackle one, if not both of those things, to start feeling out a rhythm again and finding some identity on the offensive side of the floor. I think that would go a long way.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a huge streak of games for the Sixers' identity, for them to get comfortable playing together, because they are a new team. It's very easy for us to forget that. You know, we have the team that we think we need set up at this point, that we're planning on taking into the playoffs. They need to get comfortable. They need an identity together, and Ben Simmons definitely needs to step up a bit here, from a leadership perspective, from just an athletic perspective, from a stop being a little scared pussy perspective. Like, he just needs to do something in these next couple
Can't
games.
say pussy because you might get fined by the NBA now.
That's true.
Right? You took it too far, JoJo.
Yeah. I actually don't think we talked at all about how the whole Karl Anthony Towns Joel Embiid feud, did we?
No, I don't know if you talked about it with Andrew, if you had him on the show at all during that point, but holy hell.
Yeah.
That was brilliant. I fucking loved it, honestly.
I loved every second of it, and those are the kind of things that bring a team together. It's like when in baseball, when there's a benches clearing brawl, you know, the teams tend to play pretty good for the next couple games because they're all happy to be together. You know, someone takes a punch for somebody else. You know, you're stepping up, being guys. Like, that happened with the Sixers, and then they ended up, you know, winning a game against Portland and just kind of losing after that. It didn't fire them up quite the way I thought it would. But, I mean, boy, did we come out on top in the media there. Like, the Sixers just owned the Timberwolves. I think Karl Anthony Towns will not tweet or put anything out on Instagram for the rest of the year because he just got owned through it. Like, I mean, he can't even hold Joel Embiid's jock strap now. Like, it was awesome.
I love the fact that, and this is both a good and bad thing. Like, it's for the Sixers, it's not great, but for our entertainment, it's brilliant. The fact that they brought Jimmy Butler into it.
Yeah, I agree.
Hilarious. Absolutely brilliant. And Jimmy being Jimmy is just a flawless member of NBA media. This guy is so smart and so funny and so witty, so charismatic, and fuck, I miss him here in the Sixers. I miss his personality. Obviously, there's some things that probably didn't work out, but I do miss the guy. But one thing that isn't good about that, and so listening to Spike's pod, Spike and Mike Levin, their rights to Ricky Sanchez, I'm pretty sure after the first 6 games of the season, Joel Embiid was praising Jimmy Butler for something. Like, it's not a great look. Like, at a certain point, turn around and be like, man, Ben really dominated the ball today. Man, Matisse is a beast on defense. This kid, are you seeing the length on this guy? Like, no, he's like, man, last year we had Jimmy Butler and things really worked out well, and, we're learning without him. Like, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Like, at a certain
I agree. I was going to call you on that. It took us till game 9 to start singing Jimmy Butler's praises again here. I think it's very clear that we miss him and we wish he was here, but, I thought we were going to be able to fill that void with the rest of the team, and I just don't know if we are right now. Someone's got to step up.
I will say that the year 2019 for Philadelphia sports has certainly challenged everyone to take them. Like, if you think this is the best team on paper that your team has had in this city in your lifetime or in the last decade or whatever, and you're thinking Super Bowl, you're thinking NBA Finals, you're thinking championship in some fashion, like, take a fucking second, step back and be like, am I truly, like, breaking this down analytically and saying, no, this 100% makes sense. I genuinely can't see the flaw. Like, we all hate here in Philadelphia. He's like, it's almost unanimously hated and annoyed in Elliott Shore Park. Are you familiar with him?
I'm not, no.
That's really good for your mental health. The guy's fucking maddening. But he's very smart, and he challenges things that nobody else is challenging. And while he does it in like a little weaselish of a way, he does make you think. And that's something that I feel like we have all emotionally gotten excited when these things happen. We sign Bryce Harper. We think we're perfect. We're here. We're ready to go. We bring back Deshaun Jackson. This is a perfect roster. This is a Super Bowl contender. The Flyers rebuild an entire coaching staff. The 76ers sit here and say, we solidified our roster. Yes, we moved on from Jimmy, but we got the only guy that could contain Joel Embiid, and now he's on our roster. We locked up Toby. Ben's going to be an evolutionary player. He's been shooting. We get all these videos of 3-pointers, and we psych ourselves into these things. And we don't take that 2 minutes to say, maybe we're fucking wrong. Not that we want to beat the negative here, but, like, are we thinking about this rationally? Are there not holes? What can we expect? Can we manage our expectations differently? This year has taught me so much that I have 100%, if I think this, I'm about to witness a perfect season and a fun season and a flawless season, take a step back for my own fucking sanity and mental health. Say, I can see where we're going to run into some trouble here. If Furkan's your best shooter, you're probably not winning an NBA championship yet. So there's some things that you just got to work out as a fan.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think it's well documented at this point that we were both putting ourselves entirely out there with how confident we were in the team, but we've been brought back to earth a little bit at this point. So it's humbling, but hopefully we get through it this next 5 games. One other quick thing to touch on here, Norvell the Swell Pell was on the roster last night, or in Denver, I believe. So he was active. That was one of the few bright spots I took out of that game. I don't think he was on the roster again tonight, but our boy is getting some love. Do you think we see him on the court at some point during this shit show of 5 games coming up?
So before tonight, I would have said yes. But then tonight, Jonah Bolden was getting the crap time at the end of the game.
Yeah, he was.
So I feel like, and for so there's 2 different reasons. One, Jonah Bolden was on the floor at the end of the night when that time could have, in our opinion, the Swell deserves that. Like, give
Absolutely.
that to the kid and start working him in some time, right? And then second, Brett Brown is choosing to go with a more veteran and known commodity out there in the Hole Netos and the Trey Burks, and he's moved away from Matisse. He's given Furkan a few extra minutes out there, extending from 12 and 14 minutes a night to 16 to 18. Like, the guy's just always on the floor. Like, I think at this point, Brett's just more comfortable in this current kind of rut of basketball and these grinded out styles to go with a more known player. And I think that for that reason, even if we are winning, by 25 points, which the Sixers team certainly doesn't look like we're ever going to be in a fourth quarter up by 25, but the off chance that we are during this 5-game stretch, I do think that it would probably be Jonah in that moment over Norvell. I don't even know that Norvell's going to dress again. Yeah, I mean the Blue Coat season just started, and like it's important for him to be playing basketball. It's him and Zaire and Mariel Shayak, by the way, ugliest man in Philadelphia, dropped like 30 some points in the opener. So right. good for Spacey Tooth, like great for him. So there's a guy who's got to fear the fucking dentist, right? Probably he's got space for a whole extra tooth. But yeah, man, I don't know. I so badly wish that at some point he becomes part of the rotation. But on one hand, I'm very comfortable with O'Quinn. He's hilarious. And then obviously, with our two traditional bigs, we're in a good place.
Yeah, I agree. It was enough for me to see him on the roster the other night. That was pretty much all I needed. That will satisfy me for a bit going forward. One last thing to touch on in the Sixers here, and then I got a couple other NBA questions for you that I want to bring up that we'll tie the Sixers into. But Matisse Thybulle, so he's had a pretty interesting start to the year in the sense that he was the best defensive player on the floor for his first couple games, and we were all singing his praises. And then he had a couple games where he just didn't play. It was a coach's decision. Didn't get out there because Brett Brown is clearly trying to get Trey Burke some minutes and see what's going on with him. He's trying to get Neto more time. What do you think's going on with Matisse Thybulle? Do you think this is something at all that we should even be talking about, the fact that he missed out on a game or two, or just we can look past it?
I think that there is a very real attachment to known things versus the unknown things for Brett Brown. And I think that whether or not we want to acknowledge it because we're big fans of Brett Brown, like he is pretty much on a perpetual hot seat. Like the guy's seat is always a little more than lukewarm. And I think that he can't risk certain things. And to me, I kind of viewed the first 4 or 5 games of Matisse Thybulle as like the NHL 9-game like tryout period for young guys who they use that where it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be on the NHL roster for the rest of the year. If they play 9 games and if they look like they fit, great, you're an NHLer. If not, you go down to the AHL, and it just is what it is. Or you go back to the juniors, excuse me. I kind of viewed it like that, where it was like, all right, let's see what he's got. Let's throw him in the fire. And defensively, I think Brett Brown is like full on hard for the kid. Like he's phenomenal. He's a Brett Brown player. But when the whole fucking team can't shoot, you can't have Matisse Thybulle out there for 25 to 28 minutes a night, because that's Josh Richardson and Matisse Thybulle, who are the same fucking players. One's just more handsome than the other, and neither can fucking shoot. Like it just can't happen. You can't have, a shotless Robert Covington out there and Jay Rich for 35 minutes a night shooting bricks, and then you can't have Matisse out there who's just hasn't felt that NBA range yet. So to me, I feel like it was just they needed to put more shooters on the floor. So I would say as Tobias maybe gets going, as Al Horford continues to stroke the way that he has, Matisse will find his way back into the rotation. But I don't know that it's going to be 20 to 25 minutes a night anymore.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be a good thing if he's playing 25 minutes a game, to be perfectly honest. All right, so let's branch out into just a couple other quick NBA topics. So we had talked a little earlier in the week about when Dame Lillard actually had 60 points the other day, and the Trailblazers lost. Now, I've said a couple times up to this point that the Trailblazers are a bit of a dumpster fire, and you had a pretty interesting take on players scoring a shit ton of points in a game and how it's detrimental to a team. While I don't think that that's something the Sixers will ever run into this year, because I mean, I don't think we have a guy who is the talent, or I don't want to say talent, but just the style of play that lends itself to putting up 60, because we don't shoot threes for the life of us. But you were saying too that you had a pretty interesting theory on how it's detrimental to have that many points for a star player in a team. Can you touch base on that again? I thought it was something I definitely want to bring up on the pod.
Yeah, so I mean, so much of the NBA, and especially now when the game is, and we mentioned it already, that the game's constantly being stopped by whistles, ticky-tacky calls. The game is so vastly different than the way that it used to be. I think it's hard enough to find a rhythm out there on the floor. And I think it's hard enough to find an identity out there when some nights you can go out there and hey, this is a playoff-like atmosphere. We are going with a 7-man bench, an 8-man bench, and like that's it. And or an 8-man rotation. 8 guys are getting in. That's it. Other nights you're using 10, 11, 12 guys. And I think it's hard to feel out the pace and rhythm and your responsibility and expectation on any given night. And I think it's even harder when, what would you say teams put up a night? I don't know, 70, 60 shots? Let me see. I'm just going to pull a random game up here.
Doesn't sound too far off the mark, to be honest.
So, field goal attempts. Man, probably should have had this shit up.
I kind of hate you on this.
All right, so 86. We'll just say between 80 and 90 shots a night. Now, if you got a guy who's walking out there and scoring 60, if you got James Harden out there who went through that ridiculous stretch last year of 8 games straight of 45 plus or more, that's Donovan Mitchell 35, 38 shots a night plus 20 free throws. Where the hell are you going to find time to find your shot if you're a streaky shooter? If you're a JJ Redick who needs to feel himself into that game, where are you finding the time? When the ball inevitably finds your hands, you shoot a fucking brick. To me, I think it's better to have a more balanced offense. It's not as sexy. It's always eye-popping when a guy goes out there and drops 40, 50, 60 points a night. But when the ball's in one guy's hands, you pull double teams, guys are getting drawn off the play, and they're completely not involved. They get to expend all their energy on defense, and then ball finds them on offense. Nothing really works out. So I kind of come from a stance where I would much rather have a starting 5 that all averages, not unlike last year's 76ers playoff team. Starting 5 all averages 17, 18 plus a night. And then your bench guys, maybe you got a shooter in there who he can pop 15 a night. And then you got a couple guys that can give you 10. But everyone's involved all the time. And when you have games like a Dame Lillard 60-point night, it's just not that way. So to me, I'm not a big fan of it.
Yeah, I agree. As exciting as that game was to watch, it was also incredibly frustrating because the Nets are a strange team. We haven't had a chance to fully talk about them yet, and this isn't really the time to delve into it. But they're not that great right now, and they didn't play particularly well, and they still beat the Trailblazers. To exactly your point, I think Dame Lillard was just doing everything, and no one else was getting involved at all. Part of it was because the rest of the team around him just isn't that good this year. But at the same time, it is hard for them to get, in a rhythm and some kind of, just some kind of just feel to the game when they don't even have the opportunity to touch the ball. It's a big ask. So yeah, that's something I've kind of been keeping more of an eye on this year. There hasn't been as many crazy games that teams have been winning when, a star is putting up 40, 50, 60 points a game. So that's something I'll definitely be watching for the rest of the year as we go on. So another thing that actually was brought up, Connor mentioned it on Crossing Borders a little today, and this is just another plug for Crossing Borders. Go check that out if you're a fan of this pod. I think you guys will enjoy it. But he had mentioned that the Sixers need to go out there and pick up a veteran minimum contract. He had mentioned a couple names, J.R. Smith, who I absolutely hate and I would despise that the Sixers got him. Jamal Crawford is still not on a roster, which is kind of shocking that no one has picked him up yet. But one of the other names out there right now is Carmelo Anthony.
Uh-huh.
And I think it was weirdly perfect timing. Earlier this week, you had texted me saying, I'm having to justify why Carmelo Anthony doesn't fit on the Sixers team. And conveniently enough, I think literally 10 minutes before you had texted me, one of my coworkers tapped me in the shoulder and just said, "Why do you think Carmelo Anthony isn't on the team? Guy's a stud. He should just be available anywhere." And I had to talk this guy back off a ledge and just I think you could see the smoke coming out of my ears because I was so angry, but I was in a work setting, so I was trying to be polite. Do you think Carmelo Anthony ends up anywhere on an NBA team or an NBA roster this year?
I do, but I don't think that I actually genuinely believe that he may end up finding himself on multiple NBA rosters, and I feel like teams are going to sit there and they're going to get desperate, and they're going to be like a midseason injury or something, and they're going to need to find someone on the street, and they're going to go with a name, and they're going to say let's give Carmelo a shot, and maybe he gets 10 games. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he gets 3 games. Maybe it's an Allen Iverson situation where they're like, all right, listen, man, where else do you want to go? Let's cut ties here. I do think someone else is going to take a shot on him on name and resume alone. But if you've looked at him over the last 4 or 5 years and the teams that have given up on him and the way that he's played, I mean, he's done it, and kudos to him. He's done a hell of a job at attempting to spin what he is and stating that he is not a problem and that he will accept things that everyone else who has worked with him has said he will not accept. I don't know, man. Someone's going to take a shot. It's just not going to last. And it damn well better not be the Philadelphia 76ers.
God, no. I will be so upset if we bring Carmelo Anthony in here. I think I agree. I think he's definitely going to end up somewhere in a roster. I think it'll be somewhere in the West where he hops in the team for a couple games and then just doesn't produce or goes out there and tries to take 15 shots or something. And they're like, whoa. Hold on. We did not bring you here for this. Like, you said you weren't going to shoot the ball this much. And also you suck at shooting still. Like, we need to get you off the roster. So, yeah, it's something that I'm definitely following the story on Carmelo Anthony, and he won't go away. And I don't really think he's going to, nor are we really asking for him to go away. I think he's had a pretty historic career. I mean, historic's not the right word for it, but he's had a very good career at least. Deserves some respect, but I mean, his better days are definitely behind him. But that also then brings us to the end of the show, our favorite segment here at TJ's One of Us podcast, Zair's Stash, where we talk about a handsome man in the NBA or someone with a weird look going on. And this week it has to be Carmelo Anthony, because I think I had sent you the picture, Shane, of him at a recent Syracuse game. Hilarious. When he had a Cosby-esque outfit on. And by Cosby, I don't mean Bill Cosby. I mean from the Cosby Show back then, when they were wearing those crazy like red, maroon, green kind of sweaters with weird lines, just very 90s-esque. And he had one of those bowler hats on too. It was just, or Kangol hats, whatever the hell you want to call them. I don't know. It was one of the weirdest looks I've seen in a while. Carmelo Anthony is just not a good-looking man to start already. So I saw that picture and I laughed quite a bit. I had to send it over to you. And with that, I ask you, Shane, is Carmelo Anthony better looking than our boy, the 7th best player in the NBA, Zaire Smith?
No, man. I mean, this man looks like a fat, ballooned out version of T.I. or something. Like, I can't put a finger on it, but like, man. And I do have to say, so this bothers the hell out of me. So one of my favorite NBA players of all time, Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant steps up to the microphone each and every night, and the man wore a suit. Why? Because he fucks. He knows what to do, right? That's Kobe Bryant for you. I threw a Silicon Valley reference just because of where you're from. Or not from, but currently living-ish. And but now you got guys like Cam Newton coming out here, LeBron James, and like wearing ascots occasionally. I don't know what the new fad is with suits that are capri pants and not fully down. It's weird as hell.
Yeah, I hate those.
It's so ridiculous. And shoes without socks, it creeps me out. I'm sorry, my feet are weird enough to begin with. I don't need to know. Like, I need that additional layer that a sock provides. It needs to be there. And then you got guys like Carmelo who look like he's wearing a fucking picnic suit. Like, the hat matched the shirt matched the shorts. It was weird. Like, I felt like he was dressed as a character out of Hot Shots Golf 4 for PlayStation 2. That's what he looked like.
Oh shit, that is exactly what it looked like.
It was
Can't believe I didn't think of Hot Shots.
He looks like a caddy.
Yeah. Not a good one either. I wouldn't want to give that guy a big tip. Like,
yeah, neither would I, man. I don't know what the hell I would give him for a tip, but it probably would not be money. This guy, desperate to stay in the media by any way or any means necessary, and for that I do admire him. But he is certainly not more handsome than the current MVP of the GD League, whatever the hell it is called now, in Zaire Smith, and soon to be and reclaiming once again his spot as the 7th best player in the NBA.
Absolutely. And so, Shane, I will ask you one favor before we leave here. Will you tell our listeners about our friends at Just Foods for me, please?
Absolutely. So for anyone who is local, not on the other side of the country as Scott is, you should 100% go and visit our guys over there at Just Food. That's 215-794-FOOD, 215-794-3663. Visit our guy, Asian Rob. He, his brother, their business partner, Dave, will provide you with whatever it is that your party needs. You can also stop in just for lunch, stop in for breakfast. Rob is getting fat because of them. And that is not a negative indictment on Just Food. This is a man who is skinny and loves his body, but has decided he knows now food is that important to his mental well-being. That is how much the greater impact of Just Food can bring to your life. It says, I validate being fat because I fuck. Just Food, 215-794-FOOD, 215-794-3663. Treat yourself. Take it home.
All right, and with that, I'm going to say goodbye to you here. TJ's one of us. We're going to try to get another show in later this week with Andrew on the line, so be on the lookout for that. And everyone at home, have a good night and relish in the Sixers' victory.
A fighting man I used to be, revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and such over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son still had me life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.